June 21, 2024. Memorial of Saint Aloysius Gonzaga, Religious. A reading from the Second Book of Kings. In those days, when Athaliah the mother of Ahaziah saw that her son was dead, she arose and destroyed all the royal family. But Jehosheba, the daughter of King Joram, sister of Ahaziah, took Joash the son of Ahaziah and stole him away from among the king's sons who were being put to death, and she put him and his nurse in a bedroom. Thus they hid him from Athaliah, so that he was not put to death. And he remained with her for 6 years, hidden in the house of the Lord, while Athaliah reigned over the land. But in the 7th year Jehoiada sent and brought the captains of the Carites and of the guards, and had them come to him in the house of the Lord. And he made a covenant with them and put them under oath in the house of the Lord, and he showed them the king's son. The captains did according to all that Jehoiada the priest commanded, and they each brought his men who were to go off duty on the Sabbath, with those who were to come on duty on the Sabbath, and came to Jehoiada the priest. And the priest gave to the captains the spears and shields that had been King David's, which were in the house of the Lord. And the guards stood, every man with his weapons in his hand, from the south side of the house to the north side of the house, round the altar and the house on behalf of the king. Then he brought out the king's son and put the crown on him and gave him the testimony. And they proclaimed him king and anointed him, and they clapped their hands and said, "Long live the king!" When Athaliah heard the noise of the guard and of the people, she went into the house of the Lord to the people. And when she looked, there was the king standing by the pillar, according to the custom, and the captains and the trumpeters beside the king, and all the people of the land rejoicing and blowing trumpets. And Athaliah tore her clothes and cried, "Treason! Treason!" Then Jehoiada the priest commanded the captains who were set over the army, "Bring her out between the ranks, and put to death with the sword anyone who follows her." For the priest said, "Let her not be put to death in the house of the Lord." So they laid hands on her, and she went through the horses' entrance to the king's house, and there she was put to death. And Jehoiada made a covenant between the Lord and the king and people, that they should be the Lord's people, and also between the king and the people. Then all the people of the land went to the house of Baal and tore it down, his altars and his images they broke in pieces, and they killed Mattan the priest of Baal before the altars. And the priest posted watchmen over the house of the Lord. So all the people of the land rejoiced, and the city was quiet after Athaliah had been put to death with the sword at the king's house. The word of the Lord. Responsorial Psalm Response. The Lord has chosen Zion, he has desired it for his dwelling. The Lord swore an oath to David. He will not go back on his word. A son, the fruit of your body, will I set upon your throne. The Lord has chosen Zion, he has desired it for his dwelling. If your sons hold fast to my covenant, and my laws that I have taught them, their sons, in turn, shall sit on your throne from age to age. The Lord has chosen Zion, he has desired it for his dwelling. For the Lord has chosen Zion. He has desired it for his dwelling. This is my resting place from age to age. Here have I chosen to dwell. The Lord has chosen Zion, he has desired it for his dwelling. I will make a stalk sprout up for David. I will prepare a lamp for my anointed. I will cover his enemies with shame. But on him my crown shall shine. The Lord has chosen Zion, he has desired it for his dwelling. Alleluia, Alleluia. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Alleluia, Alleluia. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Saint Matthew. At that time, Jesus said to his disciples, "Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. The eye is the lamp of the body. So, if your eye is healthy, your whole body will be full of light, but if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light in you is darkness, how great is the darkness?" The Gospel of the Lord. Reflection. Friday, 11th week in Ordinary Time. The words of Jesus in today's Gospel reading from the Sermon on the Mount invite us to ask the question, where does our treasure lie? What is it that we truly treasure? Jesus makes a contrast between treasures on earth and treasures in heaven, and he calls on us to store up treasures in heaven rather than treasures on earth. What does it mean to store up treasures in heaven? Elsewhere in the Gospels, Jesus speaks about being rich in the sight of God, as distinct from being rich in worldly terms. We are rich in the sight of God when we use our possessions in the service of others, to promote their well-being. The Samaritan in the parable of the Good Samaritan is a good example of such a person. He had earthly resources, mention is made of oil, wine, a horse, money. That would suggest he was reasonably well off in the culture of the time. Yet, he used his earthly treasures to store up treasure in heaven, to become rich in the sight of God, by placing them at the disposal of someone from whom everything had been taken and who was literally at death's door. This is what Jesus had referred to a little earlier in this Sermon on the Mount as letting our light shine in the sight of all, so that, seeing our good works, they may give praise to God in heaven. In today's Gospel reading, Jesus says, "Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also." The Samaritan treasured the broken man lying by the roadside more than he treasured his possessions, and, so, his heart was moved by his plight. He is very much the Jesus figure we are all called to grow up into.